Hey,
Ask away.
I was just gonna say, I know in the last grow ruck I was at and in ones prior, the start time has been, I'll say, flexible. Is it fair to expect the same?
Talk about the start time being flexible.
I'm talking about the start time being redefined after
Oh,
team
oh,
builder.
it can be. I'm not going to say that it's not going to be. I also though know that Major Payne, who's our C1 for this, is a planner. And so if he's saying be there at 1800, most likely it's going to be 1800. But like you said, be prepared for anything. And that could be another piece of it just to screw with your mind right there.
Just be
So
prepared.
just be prepared for anything. And so my next point in all of this, and some of it might not be 100% necessary, and Ma Bell is on here now, and so I asked him to help out with this. And so if it's not necessary to you, awesome. But I want to go over some stuff quickly, and at the end, I'll spend some more time actually looking at equipment if that's something that you need. So with that said, required gear, standard for all is a ruck. Standard for all is a 30-pound ruck plate, unless you weigh less than 150 pounds. But I will tell you that our cadre has said, man, you got to be super sickly for him to like that idea of less than a 30-pound weight. 3 liters of fluid. So this is, and let's actually rephrase that. It needs to be primarily water. This has been since Alamo, 6 liters. This might be, I'm not sure about Gold Rush, but others have done it for 6 liters since the Alamo in Texas last year. Ours is 3. The purpose is the cadre wants you to use that room in your ruck to make sure that you have enough space for cold weather gear. And I'm going to pull up in a little bit weather if you want to see that. Something that's different about ours, 2 cans of food to donate. I'm not going to go into a whole lot more detail about that, except for have it. It's required gear. And then also please make sure that it's got a label that's on there versus something that's peeling apart. The cadre have some purpose for that. Headlamp with red light and extra batteries. If this is a new event for you, like I said, I'm going to take some time, and Ma Bell has agreed to do the same just to kind of talk through some pieces here. Put them in a Ziploc bag. You need reflective bands on your ruck, a carabiner suitable for climbing, something that's not a dollar store carabiner. If you get my idea there. A photo ID. This might be some new advice to you. I'm not sure. One of the great things that Bono, who's from our region, who's been instrumental in grow rucks, suggested to me last year was take an expired ID if you got one with you, just something that has identification on it. I can't imagine them getting messed up or whatever it may be, but I don't take my normal ID with me. $20 of quitters cash. Look, I'm going to tell you that the cadre is not going to let you quit. They've already kind of said that, and they said, if you are medically unable, then it's going to be a scenario that you need to be carried off on a stretcher or ambulance. Outside of that, they aren't going to incorporate you into the support team. But that $20 cash has traditionally been there to say, hey, I need a cab to get somewhere, an Uber to get somewhere. I'm going to tell you that we have a third F reason for that at the end of the night. If you are willing, we're going to ask our men. There's a great organization in Greenville I'll talk about. Cool. But there's a great organization that I'll talk about at GTE that day or that Friday evening where that can go towards. A face covering of some sort. We in Greenville, North Carolina, Pitt County, of course, now with CDC regulations, we don't have any mask mandates in effect. It is not necessarily for that. I kind of want to make this clear-ish. 6 weeks ago, this world was a different place when we put together this list. And so 6 weeks ago, whenever we put it together, we said, hey, do we need it? Let's just be there to be safe. In the meantime, the cadre had the idea of saying, no, let's keep it on there. A, for keeping your face warm. B, just because we might figure out how to have fun with it. Gator's best case scenario, but have something with you. And most likely you'll never use it. Doesn't necessarily have to be on when you get there. Just have it in a ruck. Work gloves, windbreaker. You can see here optional gear, and I'll go through some of that in detail, but this is what I wanted to hit with the required gear. And then lastly, prohibited. You cannot have a phone on you. Now, there's medical exceptions to that. That medical exception, for example, we have one man in our region that needs his device, and the cadre will know about that beforehand because of diabetes. And so he'll have a device with him because of that. But watches, Garmin, electronic devices are not allowed. So that's prohibited gear. Do you have questions before I can go? Like, I'll go into detail later. So if you're just having questions about, man, what does this look like? What do I need? We'll go through that. But is there questions specifically on gear that I can answer in terms of just generalized questions? Right. Awesome.
Hey, Rocky, can I say something?
Please, by all standards.
You are first class, man.
I
You
appreciate
know
it.
how to do this. I mean, when nobody has any questions, let's just know you're doing a great
There
job.
we go. There we go.
That's all it means.
I appreciate you. I need to get little popsicle sticks and calling you like I do my kids. Is that what it needs to be? Pull out a hat.
Thank you, man. You're doing a great
Yeah.
job.
I appreciate you. So gentlemen, that's the basis. I don't want this to be a super long thing. But I also wanted to provide opportunity, A, to ask questions, B, to look at gear. If you need to, I've got everything scattered on the floor over here. I asked my Bell to be on here, who is way more of a rucking veteran than I am with different GTEs and events like Go Ruck Toughs and Heavies and everything else. And so he can answer some questions as well. But at this point in time, either first about the weekend itself, and then secondly about, just the ruck itself and gear. What kind of questions can we as a group answer for you?
Hey, I want to chime in for just a second, Uraka, if you don't mind.
Do it, please, Ma.
Hey, just a heads up on that required gear list. The windbreaker was one of those things that's normally not on a Go Ruck list.
Yeah.
But with the weather way it's been around here, it's either going to drop into the chili or it's going to rain. So he made sure that was there, and he made sure we made room for extra gear for heat because of the way that temperature varies in this area. I don't know anybody else's level of involvement with rucking, but in the middle of the night, whether it's 40 degrees or 60 degrees, it's going to get cold, period. So just have that extra there, just as a safety net. You'd rather have too much gear than not have enough. Ask my man Noonan; he carries more gear than anyone. But it's a safety thing. Just be there, have extra. I'll have extra, but 99% of the time I won't use it. But it's required.
What's our statement here, Noonan? No such thing as bad weather, just bad gear. So
I think his statement is no such thing as too much gear.
there you go. Yeah. And if you're looking here, Greenville at this time of the year, this is in keeping with what our weather typically looks like. But it is a time of year that the weather is fluctuating all the time. I laughed. One of my Shield Lock brothers is appropriately nicknamed Doppler. He loves the weather, and he's already been sending us forecasts and saying, now it could change from this. And so I'll use Doppler's word and say, now it could change. But we're looking at right this minute a pretty clear evening. I will tell you that there's not going to be a whole lot of visibility in terms of moonlight. And so you are going to need your headlamp. But just be prepared for cooler weather, in the 40s as well.
Hey,
So-
general question, real quick.
Yes. Ask away, man.
Just not being familiar with the region, the area, any peripheral like bug spray or anything else be helpful for that area?
So this time of the year, we are not in full force with mosquitoes. To be honest, it's one of my favorite times of year to be outside because we don't have a lot of bugs right this minute. Now, if anybody else wants to pipe up and say, Uraka, you're completely wrong on this, please do. I'm not going to be carrying any bug spray. I might throw a little bit on, because I keep some in the truck at all times before we go, but I'm not concerned about it myself.
I just got
Bugs
back
haven't
from a
been an
track
issue.
meet and I got eaten up by mosquitoes.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yep.
To this point, bugs haven't been an issue in the region.
But you're here
Poacher, you're out. Poacher, you're out there in the
Plymouth.
boomsticks. It might be different.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
I'm
I've been out
60
there.
miles east of Greenville, but I grew up in Greenville, and yeah, I mean, it depends. If we have a couple of days of warm weather, the mosquitoes will be kind of rough if we're down near the river and going through swamps and stuff.
Yeah, and I would trust Poacher's word. I mean, he was a forest. What were you before?
Game warden.
Wildlife. Yeah, game warden. So he knows
Yeah.
it probably better than anybody.
I think my camera.
I've got some little
super.
I've got some little small ones. I'll bring some extra ones if somebody needs them. I got some little bitty, like 2 and 4 ounce bottles of bug spray.
Well, I had an intent to show you gear, but if my camera looks on your screen like it looks on my screen, I might be way off here. Let me try one option.
Your screen looks really good, Rock.
Oh, good. For me, it looks like it is super delayed. Let me try one thing. I'm on my Mac and I have it hooked up to my phone. So let's see. All right. If this is beneficial to you, please stick on. And if you have questions you just want to throw out, please do so. But my intent right this minute is just to kind of go through gear. Is there anything that we need to know there? So give me a moment as I get the camera a little bit better situated. And giving myself a frame of reference here. So I'm not going to go heavy into, yeah, please.
Oh, no. I was just going to ask while you were getting situated, because I'm always curious to hear. Maybe Ma Bell's got some insight. The low profile 3-liter source bladder versus the standard more vertical, more narrow. What's your thought? Your preference? If there's
I use the standard, but it's just simply because that's what I've had. No issue with it. The low profile just sits a little higher. And when you're rucking, you generally want your weight as high up as you can get it, but it really hasn't played a big difference. I mean, it's still 3 liters of water, and there's about a 4-inch difference with packing, so you might be able to put more stuff at the bottom of your ruck, but I haven't seen anything significant because, I mean, at prior GTEs, we use 6 liters, and there's plenty of room for that. So the packing space is not the issue. So it's just personal preference if you want the weight to sit up just a little bit higher.
Hey, thanks for that, man.
Mm-hmm. And so with that said, I mean, I use the low profile because that's what people like Ma Bell and other studs in our region have used. And so that's what I'm going with here. And they're still available on Amazon. And I know you can get them here within time if that's something you happen to need. One thing that I'll make mention of, if you have one piece or one mouthpiece, you have none. And that's something I learned within Myrtle Beach here recently, because I lost mine at the very beginning of the ruck, and I could not find my spare until after I got home from the ruck. And so I went most of the night without access to water, except for whenever we took breaks, and I suffered from it. So I've made sure that this time I have 2 extra, so I guess technically 3 mouthpieces that will go with mine. That's just a word to the wise that was given to me, and I tried to abide by it, but it failed at me. So having some extra mouthpieces is, in my opinion, critical. Weights, I'm not going to go into really a lot of detail, but just know that all of this stuff is at some point in the night going to come out of your ruck. I think that's been pretty much standard at most GTEs. They're going to tell you, and actually I can say that with confidence, they're going to say, hey, get everything out. Ma Bell, I would love for you to speak into this, but one of the things that I noted last time that I needed to do differently is pack within Ziploc bags versus just having stuff shoved into pockets. And the reason for that is whenever I was pulling things out and then having to grab handfuls to pull it back in, that's actually when I lost my mouthpieces. So if I would have had it in a Ziploc bag kind of there together, so that I only had 4 or 5 things to put back into my ruck after gear check, because it's going to be chaotic, it's going to be hectic, and it's designed to be that way. It's going to make your life a little bit easier. So Ma Bell, anything you want to speak in terms of like just, I'll go through some more gear and some other pieces, but in terms of just, your strategy for packing.
If you want, I can share the packing video I made
Yes,
for
please.
what was it, 21 for Myrtle Beach.
20,
Anyway,
yeah.
I tend to use Ziploc bags for everything. It's much more convenient. It keeps your stuff, one, dry, and two, in order a whole lot easier. So you can just pull out different sections, because they're going to ask to see weight. They're going to ask to see water. They're going to ask to see headlamp. They're going to ask to see ID. That's pretty standard to almost every, not just Grow Ruck events, to almost every event that I've been to. So just be prepared to bring that stuff out, and they're going to make you get that weight out, and that's going to cause you to dump your whole ruck.
Yep.
So the more you're organized and the more you know where everything is, almost blindly, it makes a big difference. You move a whole lot quicker, and then you're standing there waiting for everybody else, and you're not that guy. You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. Hey, one other thing that occurred to me when you're talking about losing your mouthpiece is, not to forget, we're in this together. So,
Oh, yeah.
one guy loses a mouthpiece, don't be shy to speak up, because there's going to be some guy that packed an extra one who's not going to need it. And there's no reason anybody should be going all night without access to water.
So Happy Meal, I laugh and I love it because I'm staring right now at Noonan's screen. He was in my platoon. The guys were trying to hook me up. One wouldn't fit, one had sand in it. And then we finally got one that fit in there and it was broken. And so it was just one headache after another. But you're exactly right. It was pulling together. Hey, you need this. So if we get to the start and at any point in time during the night, you need something, just say, I need this. Hey, I forgot 2 cans of food. Guess what? I'm going to have way more than 2 cans of food in the back of my truck, and I'm going to throw you, however many cans you need. So whatever it may be, just reach out, and we're going to have guys that should be able to get some things to you. So Happy Meal, awesome point. Thank you.
Yeah. To that same end, I mean, in Myrtle Beach, who was it? What's his name? Wingnut, Wirenut.
Wire nut.
Stopped me after our first evolution. He's like, my feet are eat up already. You know what? Here's my extra socks, man. Put them on, get your feet dry. Let's go. So everybody's working together. It's supposed to be a team, and that's what we want it to be.
It is, in some ways, us against the cadre, us against the elements. And I'm not saying it's against the cadre, but we're pulling together to make sure that we can defeat whatever they throw at us. Keeping on down my list, and really, gentlemen, at this point, I'm making this for you all if you need it, but I'm making this for our gentlemen that cannot join in and said, hey, please record. Headlamps, you want something that has a red light to it. You're going to be using that red light more than you are anything else on the headlamp throughout the night. So that's important, and it's required. And so I have something that is honestly cheaper than most of the guys. It has served me well. It eats batteries alive. So I'm going to make sure there's fresh batteries in it before I get going. Some of our gentlemen swear by the Black Diamonds and other pieces. This is Energizer, and it's served me well so far. There's lots of different ways to go there. In terms of reflective bands, I'm partial. Give me a second here to grab a few things. Partial to Jaga lights, but you could get these on Amazon fairly easily. They're $10. I know this very well because I've bought and recently a whole lot of them. But they're $10 for 2 of them. But if at the end of the day you need something, as long as there is something reflective on your ruck, and I get that if you have a Go Ruck brand bag, that it has a black strip that's supposed to be reflective, but that doesn't cut the mustard most of the time. And it is not very reflective. And so the cadre are going to be looking for you to have something else that is reflective on your ruck. So just have that. Carabiners are another piece that is required gear. Thank goodness I pulled mine off tonight, because my bell and those that were in Myrtle Beach, it is slam rusted. I did not realize that. So I'm going to have to put some WD-40 on it and loop it up a little bit. But just having something that can hold some weight in case the cadre decide, hey, we want to put you together on a rope, or we're going to have you do this or do that. I mean, there's going to be some times that we might have to cross some terrain that is not necessarily just suitable for rucking across by itself, and we might need to link up in some way. And so just keep that in the back of your mind. I'm not saying that's happening. I'm saying it's a possibility. I I went over, photo ID with you, but just once again, best advice I had there was have something that is an older ID if you have one. And that was a great piece of advice that was given to me. In terms of $20 cash, I don't have it pulled out this evening, but Ziploc bags work. I had just from some other thing, a waterproof little bag that I slipped them in that was perfect. But just something that you can access if you need to, but you're going to access it at the beginning of the night, and then it's going to be tucked away until you unpack the next day. So it's something you don't really need to be able to grab at quickly. This has been, and like I said, I've already addressed it head on. I'll address it head on again, and so has Shortstop. It's been a little bit of a controversial piece here in ENC, and I'm okay with that. But the cadre really, initially, it was about, safety, and then it changed into we don't necessarily need them for that, but we're still going to require that they're there. So I'm carrying with me, and I'm carrying it more for heat at this point, but a neck gaiter that'll be around my neck most of the evening. Work gloves. And then after work gloves, Mabel, I'm just going to ask you, and actually Windbreaker, I'm going to ask you to step in and just on the required gear list, anything else that you may have. I was very thankful in Myrtle that I had 2 sets of gloves. And the reason being is because these got sand in them very quickly. These are leather gloves. They're just mechanics that you can get at Lowe's Home Improvement or other places. There's nothing fancy about them, but they got sand in them, and my hands were just not liking that. And so about halfway through the night, I switched over to my other pair. So once again, I'm going to have 2 pairs of gloves with me that evening. And I'm going to start off with 1 pair of these gloves on my hand, so I don't have to necessarily reach for them in my bag. Then last piece, Windbreaker, simple, guys. I mean, there's nothing fancy to it. I went out and bought something fancy, but just have something. And I guess the last piece, Mabel, before that is think wisely about your clothing choices. You're going to want to blend in, not stick out. Laugh, and I hope maybe one day he'll hears this, but Myrtle Beach Hamburglar, which is one of their guys, decided to come in a Hawaiian shirt and bright colors and his little curly mustache there. And he was a target early on because of it. Now, he loved every minute of it, I think, but our goal typically is to blend in and not necessarily stand out. So most of my clothing is black, or it's going to be, quote, tactical in color. So whenever it comes to required gear, Mabel, anything for the troops on the camera now, or the troops that may be watching this later?
No, the biggest thing with required gear is just make sure you have it. We'll have extras, but you got a list of specifically what you need.
Yep.
Windbreaker doesn't have to be anything special, like you said. I wear a 10-year-old Nike all conditions gear black windbreaker. It's been through multiple events and is a POS, but you know what? It serves the purpose, and I rarely use it. So with that, the carabiner, nothing fancy. You said climbing, we don't need anything more than that. We went over the top for custom heavy. We did in Wilmington with snap clips and everything, but you don't need all that. Just something that'll carry 20 or 30 pounds is about all you need. Let me see. Gloves. I carry 1 set of gloves, but I don't wear gloves most of the night. I wear them while we're carrying stuff, but that's about it. I always bring extra socks. I always bring food. Very little food do I bring. Most folks bring a lot. I bring a couple protein bars and some energy gummies. Maybe some salt tabs or noon tablets, something like that. But other than that, I don't carry a whole lot of food because it's 12 hours, 15 hours, whatever it is. You're generally going to eat an hour or so before, and then you're not going to starve to death in that time. Just ration what you got and take your time, take it in when you need it. Because if you take in too much, then you're going to put yourself in a bad spot.
Hey, Ma, I don't know if you want to talk to it real quick. What we saw out in the Grizzly was a lot of guys either didn't hydrate, ahead of the event, or didn't bring electrolytes or whatever it was. But there was a lot of cramping pretty early in the PT testing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with that, your hydration should start at the latest Sunday. You should be pounding water from Sunday all the way through the event. Water is your main key. Now I do take some liquid IV on occasion, but that's pre-hydration. I don't take any of that during the event. Carrying the noon tablets or some type of electrolyte that you are used to on the event is going to be key, right? Make sure you're not putting anything new in your body during the event. You have to have that in your body, have your body used to it before the event actually goes down. But the pre-hydration is 99% of it. People don't tend to think about it. They're like, oh, it's not going to be hot. I don't need that water. But the big thing is you need that water. You need to be peeing every 45 minutes to an hour coming into the event. If you're not, you do not have enough hydration.
You need
This
to
is
start
meant to,
drinking right now.
yeah.
You need
No.
to start drinking now.
No, I don't see you drinking. Anyway, moving on with that, but that's one of those things that people, you can ask Patch. Patch paid for it in what was
Pinehurst.
it? Pinehurst. There you go. It went into full body cramps after the event, but that's all pre accomplished. We during the event you cannot hydrate. I did the heavy in Wilmington, and you know what? I did not hydrate enough, and I could not eat anything in that event. I literally could not swallow because I did not have enough hydration in my system to actually get the stuff down. So that's key, but that's all preemptive. It's not during the event. During the event, yes, you need to replenishing, and if you're not peeing every time we stop and you're given the opportunity to pee, you need to be putting more in. But the mix of electrolytes in there, it's going to be with me, it's a 3 or 4 to 1. I mean, if I'm drinking 1 liter of electrolytes, I've already had at least 3 liters of water or intermingled. Everybody's a little different with that, though.
One of the pieces that was suggested to me was, our man Bono here takes one of these smaller Gatorade bottles with him. And that's what I'm carrying with me on my side pouch. It's just something that's 12 ounces. I'm specifically, because I'm used to it and I prefer it. I've got noon tablets. They're meant for 16 ounces. Doesn't matter. Throw it in there with my water and shake it up good and let it fizz for a little while. But that's what I'm having. And I'll have that, my 3 liters of water on the side. And then, this is just what I have on the side pouch carry. I had to buy a second one because my other one rusted from Myrtle Beach, but that's a whole different scenario. Nutrition wise, Mabel, I'm pointing these 2 things out. You talked about how you do gummies, energy gummies, and how you do other things. I learned last time that as much as I love a Cliff Bar, my body is not going to handle a Cliff Bar during the middle of that event. I just could not choke it down. I did find during Blue Ridge Relay, during other events that, I tend to do well, and I use Stinger waffles. And so I have just a few of these in my ruck, just something for some quick energy. But, heavy on the carbs for the purpose of getting that quick energy. And then just because it's something I prefer, and I found that I liked having them, just a little bit of turkey jerky in my ruck as well. One thing that I will stress is there will be times that are appropriate for eating. I might have some information I'm not supposed to share, but I'm going to share this nonetheless. And the cadre said clearly to the other cadre, they ain't eating when it's not time to eat. So if you see men that are sitting there trying to consume food while they're rucking, they got a energy bar in their hand or whatever it may be, unless they've got some medical purpose, that needs to be away. And he said, give them hell if they have it out. So that's just one piece for you. Anything else in terms of nutrition, water, because that is that next thing on the optional gear list that we're looking at. Noonan, Mabel, anybody else? Yeah, I'm still getting guys admitted. That's awesome. In terms of feet, so let's move there for a minute. If you need it, I'm going to grab a couple of things here. To each their own, but I think one of the worst things that you could possibly do in an event like this is use cotton. Cotton's going to hold moisture. It's going to keep moisture right there next to your skin. And so one of the better things that some of our men suggested to me, this is not a me thing, Boy Scouts, whenever we were doing hiking, we wore church socks underneath wool socks. And this is essentially that 21st century version of that, or I guess more modern. A lot of our guys used Injinji, but just some type of liner that is directly on your feet. I used them because I liked the toe socks that separate and made it so that the sand did not necessarily get in between my toes, and kept everything a little bit separated. Not a necessary thing, but like a nylon sock or something to that effect directly on your feet. And then on top of that, I this is in Gingy as well. I'll probably use wigwam that evening, but just a wool sock itself. And then whenever it comes to having extra, I'm going to bring one more pair, and I absolutely used them, both a liner and a pair of socks, whenever we were in Myrtle Beach. So in terms of socks, footwear, anything like that, you want to speak on, Mabel?
No, I live the same life as far as using the Injinji toe socks, and then I use Darn Tough over top of it, both wool. Nothing fancy there. I mean, at this point, you need to be pretty well on in your setup. I do use what is it? Oh shoot, I can't even think of the name of it. I do use some lube on my feet beforehand. Trail toes. There you go. But as far as anybody else, if you haven't used that system, you need to get that system in on you to know how it feels before this event. It will help regardless if you're not familiar with it, but will make you sore if you just go straight into an event just trying a new system. So just be aware of that. But I use the same setup, and then I wear Solomon trail running shoes, which almost all of our region seems to love the same style shoes because they're very effective, and they drain well and they maintain without breakdown.
There's a key point right there. I was the person that said, "Oh, I've got some good boots before Myrtle Beach," and I mentioned to him. Thankfully, I mentioned to one of our guys. I was like, "Oh yeah, they're Gore-Tex. They'll be good." Heck to the no, that's going to hold your water in. And so, I mean, I'm giving a little bit away there, but most GTEs you could anticipate being in water, and so something that drains would be key. Some of our guys, I've worn tennis shoes the last marathon ruck we did, and also for Myrtle Beach as well, and they worked for me. This time I'm going to be using Mac V1s from Go Ruck, but most of our guys use Solomons. But tennis shoes, anything that's already broken in and that you're used to wearing, that's the key. But draining, thank you for mentioning that. Don't have anything that holds water. Trail toes, I didn't necessarily use them, but that's what it looks like if you're interested. Some of our guys use that as well. And then a lot of our guys swear by it, but it doesn't necessarily do a whole lot for me. But Body Glide as well, lubing up a lot of your different parts to keep friction off. And so there's another option for you.
Hey, Uraka, I will say with the
Please.
trail toes, the biggest thing for me is if you're changing socks and you're using trail toes, it's a whole lot faster to get on and off.
Yep. And one word of the wise from our man Patch here in ENC. He said, he lubes up his feet like the night before and that he sleeps with socks on with that lube on and things like that. And he swears by that. I don't know if it does any good, but I listen to the man, so I might try it out this time. And then also in terms of feet, I keep a little piece of moleskin in my ruck, some Band-Aids. I've just got some disinfectant wipes in there as well, but something that I can access quickly if I need it, if I get a hot spot on my foot. It's just something to have if I need to keep friction off. And if not, then I have something to share as well. Pretty much getting down that list. Mr. Kit, toilet paper, have a little bit of something there. I didn't use a whole lot, but I did have last time, and I'm going to have a couple of more. These are one wipe Charlies, but just some type of small. I wanted to clean myself at one point. We won't get in the nitty gritty there, but dude wipes, you don't need a whole lot of anything. Duct tape is on the optional gear list. I'll tell you the old Boy Scout trick, which is taking this water bottle and I'm going to wrap the outside of it in a couple of pieces of duct tape so I have access to it, and I'm not carrying a whole roll of duct tape because I don't want to weigh down my ruck or spend all the room in my ruck on a thing of duct tape. Lastly, weather appropriate gear. Just be thinking again, do I have things that are going to keep me warm inside of my ruck? You're going to get cold, especially if you happen to get wet and you get out of that and you're trying to dry off. So once again, do you have things that are going to keep you warm? And once again, avoiding cotton as much as possible. There's different materials out there. Some of our guys even go down to swearing by wool underwear, but I don't know if I've been that far yet. Anything
Hey.
else in terms of, yes, please, my Bill.
Hey, you're rock on that not a non-required gear list is a dry bag, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
got
Yeah, that I'm gonna tell you there's only been one event that I didn't get in water, and there's only been one event that I didn't need a dry bag. It's gonna be to benefit to keep your socks and other gear that you're trying to put on to get warm dry. It may not seem like much, but it does pay dividends in the middle of the night when you're cold and you got a dry shirt you can put on or dry socks you can put on. But doesn't have to be anything big. What's that, about a 12-liter, 15
mine
liter,
is
something
mine
like
is considered extra small for the company that makes it. It's Event. It's waterproof, but it is way too much, to be honest. It's compressible. It's too
What
big.
size is it?
I'm going to use it again. And the reason I'm using this one, to be honest, gents, is because it's meant to be able to squeeze all the air out and compact. But it is too much for what I have, but it's what I have. So I'm going with it without buying anything new. Just a dry bag.
Yeah, somewhere between 1 and 5 liters is probably about all you need.
That's what she said. It is what he has. What he has.
That's all she could take.
All right. I'm trying to think anything else on that list or any other last questions.
You're blushing, you Rocco. You're blushing.
All right. It ain't very big, but it show is show. All right, guys. Look, reach out with questions. You've got an email from me already. You might be receiving one, I think maybe from don't want to put him on the spot. He's not on here anymore, but you might be receiving one more from Shortstop, but you're definitely going to get one more from me before we get started on everything. Reach out through email, reach out through Slack. There is a national channel, and I'm going to be honest, I try to avoid social media as much as I possibly can, so I'm not on there tons. But some of our guys do monitor it pretty well. One last thing, I guess, then I'll shut up. So my plate does not fit in my ruck well. It's a Go Ruck bag. It's a Go Ruck plate, but it slides a little bit too much for me. This is a piece of yoga block that I cut, and I made it almost form to my plate to keep it from sliding up and down. And that way, when we're doing Merkins, it's at the bottom. My plate's not sliding and busting me in my head and things like that. And so that was just one piece that I've used over the last year of rucking. That's made a little bit of a difference in my rucksack, just to keep things from sliding around. Some of our guys have used bubble wrap in the past as well, I think, to keep things from sliding around in terms of their ruck. So we had a couple of other men join in late. I don't want to hang up before giving them the option if they have any questions. So I'll hang out here for a few more moments. But otherwise, we are looking forward to it. Look, just real quick, I got a question. So I know my bell, Sean Jeffries, you're here in ENC. I'm introducing you. Noonan, Anthony Cartret here in ENC. Tell me, C low. I'm looking at it.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Tell us who you are.
Yeah, I'm Curtis Lowe, F3 Names 50cc out of F3 Greensboro.
Man, we're excited
Nice.
about having you.
Nice.
I'm excited about doing it. Excited and scared all at the same time.
No, your
You
man
got this.
Adam's got you. He's got you.
Oh, yeah.
Eric, I'm going to assume Eric's iPhone on here is that Ricky Bobby?
Yep, that's me.
Hey, brother. Cousin It, I see you on here. Poacher, I see you on here. Poacher's out of Plymouth, so our Plymouth / Cornerstone guys. And then Steven, I see you up here as well. Not quite sure who you are. If you want to introduce yourself, you're more than welcome.
You know him.
Dangle out of Wilson.
Never mind. Good to see you. All right, Dangle. Guys, any questions? All right. This has been
Hey, just one
please.
last thing. I'll post those videos that I did from Myrtle about packing and actually dress as well. I'll probably post them Sunday, possibly Monday, because I'm in Charlotte right now. But I'll post them both on the ENCGT channel, and then I'll post them on the Nation channel just to give them something there as well.
I want to say one thing as parting words, Uraka. Training pretty much has been had or not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say overdo it in the next 5 or 6 days. What I would say is do not underestimate how much rest and hydration will matter going into this event. Rest particularly will be a big deal. If you get good sleep 2 to 3 days before this event, it will make all the difference. So just know how important getting good rest is leading into Saturday night.
Thank you, Newton. All right, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. I've got this recorded, so I'm going to put, it's pretty much just boiled down to what we talked about with gear, because I missed the first part of this. But I'm going to try to get this posted ASAP, not only to our local Slack here in ENC, but also to the national Slack. And then if you'll get me the videos, my Bill, if they're not uploaded somewhere, then I'm going to get them uploaded, and we're just going to include all those links in an email to the guys here soon so that everybody gets them. All right,
No
gentlemen, have a good evening. Hopefully,
All right, thank you, Rocco.
hopefully somebody will see you in the gloom tomorrow. So,
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
thank you.
All right, thank you.